On this channel, we talk a lot about our success in business. I talk about how I make a lot of money selling on eBay, how we make money selling on Etsy, and all these different business ideas that we try in between. But I have to admit, and it's probably obvious, it's not all glitz and glam, and some things do go wrong, and this does happen more often the more stuff you try inevitably. Today I'm telling the story about how I lost over $2,000 and close to $3,000 trading and investing in the stock market. Now, of course, this is just my experience. I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I now know how to trade and invest a lot better, and I don't have a problem still putting money into it in this day. But I just want to show this video because whilst other videos where I talk about making massive profits on the stock market, investing, or selling stuff on eBay, they might do a lot better, but for actual context for the people who genuinely want to do well, I think this is a much more important video to make, because I'm not saying that you're going to fail all the time, but it's important to acknowledge that failure is a thing, because with all of these influencers making video after video saying this went well, that went well, how many things do they not show that go wrong? Anyway though, let's get into the story. Like and subscribe if you enjoy it. I'm going to tell you about what happened in this example. So this all started probably mid 2022, so last year, and I wanted to get into the world of trading. I already had over £10,000 at age 19 in stocks, but this was not in leveraged investments. So these were in stocks themselves, whether it be Apple, Tesla, Google, whatever. They were all in stocks. And the thing about stock returns is it's quite hard to make a massive return. Stocks, generally speaking, on the day-to-day and even on the month-to-month, don't move that much. Like the S&P, for example, the average move on that a year is 7%. So if I was to put in £10,000, I'd probably make £700 at the end of the year, and that's if we have a typical year, which at the minute is probably not the case. So my point is, even with my £10,000 of startup capital, this business was not going to make me a lot of money. And whilst it's something which I still do to this day and I still think is worth it, it's not the way to get rich. It's a way to build your wealth once you already have it. And that's completely fine if you want a better way to store your money than in the bank. But my point is, it wasn't getting me more money, not a lot more money. So I had to do things differently. It was about this time that I discovered the world of the day trader. I always knew it was a concept, but I never knew what day traders actually did. Now I realised that there was two ways of day trading. The first one was absolutely not available to me, as you needed to have a lot of capital. And that is using a lot of money to take advantage of small moves. So a perfect example of this is, say, instead of my 10,000, I have 100k in my account and the stock moves by 1% a day. Let's say I can capitalise upon that only once a week, for example. I then have made £1,000 a week just by trading a 1% move, because of how large my capital amount is. But with me having not very much money, that wasn't really the case and it wasn't really possible. So I started to look into the world of leveraged investing. So to summarise what this is extremely quickly, leveraged investing is where you, in a way, borrow money to increase your position size. So a perfect example of this is, say I have 10 times leverage. I now have the play capital, if you will, of 10 times my account. So if I had £100 in, I now have £1,000 worth of capital to play with. What this means is, when I make a profit, I make 10 times the result, but the downside is when I make a loss, I make 10 times as much of a loss. So a loss of maybe 5% can actually wipe out half of my account or more, depending on what my leverage rate is. And this is where things really started to go wrong for me. You see, the world of investing and trading are very, very different. An investor is looking for very different things than a trader. I'm not going to go into the specifics of each in this video, but my point is, it's a very different game. So when I went into the world of trading, trying to use my investing tactics, I was hit by failure after failure after failure, and stupid me at the time didn't realise how much of a mistake I was making. I actually realised what the problem was towards the end, and now I'm fixed and I seem to be doing okay, but I'm going to explain everything that went wrong to cause me to lose so much money. The first problem that I had is trying to grow my money far too quickly. I started off with accounts which were normally sized between £50 and £350. Not a bad account size, but think about it. If we want to make a living off that account, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, because we have to make so much money per day that it's almost unrealistic. In fact, it is unrealistic. Even if I was to make 100% of a rise in a day from my £100 account, I've only made £100. Yes, it's a lot of money, but it's not Lamborghini rich, and obviously we're not going to be able to make that every single day. But in the early days, for some reason, I thought that I was going to be able to see this every day, and I thought that my small account size was fine. What happened then is I went in with overly sized account positions, which caused me more and more losses as time went on. Again, because the losses and profits can come in so quickly, it's easy to not understand your position size. So when you only have an account of £10, you might put every single penny in your account into a specific investment, rather than having a bit of money in case things go wrong and the stock moves up a bit before moving down, or down a bit before moving up, and you don't actually factor that in. So that was a huge issue that I made, and a huge problem that I had, which caused me to lose significant capital as time went on. And I kept putting in this 100, 200, 300 pounds, thinking that I'd get better results. But what I didn't even realise is it was my strategy that was completely wrong. I didn't actually have a full strategy, which is even worse than it initially sounds. Like, when we think about how I was structuring the trades, we're talking no take profits, no stop losses. We're talking about just going with the wind. And this is kind of how it is in the beginning, and the 2,000 that I've lost, I don't see as a big deal, simply for the fact that I've learned a lot about the stock market, about a different way to invest, and about a different way to trade. But my point is, it is a lot of stress and a lot of loss that just didn't need to happen to the extent that it did. I know it's a real cliche quote, but it is definitely the case that maybe 80 to 90% of trading is all about the mindset, because my mindset hindered me and actually ended up with me losing a significant amount of money. Like, if we think about it, trading and investing is supposed to be something which makes us money. We're not supposed to lose money from trading and investing. However, my short-term aim to get rich actually ended up in me getting poorer. Fortunately for me, I have other avenues of income, but you get what I'm saying. From this stream of income, I made less money. I actually lost money in this stream of income because I wanted to make it so quickly. So by trying to kind of jump the race and get to the end really quickly, I ended up losing more than I needed to, completing the absolute opposite of my intended goal. Nowadays when I trade, I do things completely differently, and whilst I can talk about the loss being a very bad thing, it's fine. I'm just explaining this for those looking to get into the stock market and investing. It doesn't need to be this way. Maybe save up a little bit of money, whether it's £100, £1,000, £10,000. Don't put it all in at once, maybe put half in. And then when you're thinking about your position size, I wouldn't go more than 25% of my account. That's just me, and that's just the way that I'm going to do things from now on. And if we think about it, I've been trading, not investing, I've been trading for probably about a year and a half now, and my point is, I didn't have to make that loss initially. If I'd have just thought through it a lot better, yes, I might not have made £1 million in profits, but I might have made £2,000 or £3,000 in profits, and that might be the topic for this video, not 2,000 or 3,000 in losses. And obviously then that could have kept growing and growing and growing using the appropriate methods. But from now I do things very differently. Again, I keep my account still relatively small size because I don't have enough money to risk it all, and that is realistically what you're doing if you're trading. But I keep my account small size, I keep my position size even smaller, and I'm comfortable taking that smaller amount of profit, because whilst I might be making, 25, 50, £100 per trade, it's better than the alternative, putting it all in, thinking I'm going to make £1,000 on this trade, and then losing every penny. That is really stupid if you ask me, so I don't do that kind of stuff anymore. Now, all of these things were just learning mistakes, and I'm not going to complain. You may say I had more cash to play with in this game than most people begin with, and I'd agree with that, and I'm not going to complain about that, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. What's gone is gone. I've made more from other streams, and that is just business. I don't say that to brag, obviously, it's a loss. What I do say it for, though, is to acknowledge the fact that this is how business works. Whether we talk about starting up a Shopify shop, which I did a few months ago, that just did not work, or starting up an eBay shop, which absolutely flies and makes us a ton of money. It doesn't matter. We're talking about business here, and that's what business is like. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's terrible, and that is okay. So whether you like this video or not, whether this video does well or not, whether this video gets a lot of views, my point is, I had to make this, because now I've discussed it. I've shown the fact that it's not all sunshines and rainbows in business. A lot of the time we lose money. Not all of our investments and ventures are successful. Sometimes we don't do very well, and that's all okay. But the fact that we have this culture online now where people don't really want to share that, I think it creates an environment that just is not constructive. Because take my trading example for instance. Like when I started trading, for example, I thought traders had a 100% success rating. That's just so not the case. Not all traders drive Lamborghinis, not all traders even do it full time. Like for me nowadays, the opportunity for a new trade doesn't come up that often. I might put in 1 or 2 trades a month. because I want to be certain and I need to be certain. That's another thing that I learnt. If I am not certain with this trade, then I'm not getting into it. There's instances where I can see on the chart or on the fundamentals with my opinion. I'm not going to say it's right or wrong because sometimes I'm still wrong, but generally speaking, I'm more right when I do this. I look at the chart, I say, this is what I'm looking for. I expect to get in at this point, get out at this point, and if this goes wrong, I'm getting a take loss at this point, I'm getting a take profit at this point, and that's how I'm comfortable trading. I don't care if the stock's up by 700% and it's probably the best opportunity ever to short it. I am not taking that trade if I don't feel comfortable after assessing it. Now I can assess it appropriately. I can say, hey, this is how we get in, this is a price, this is what we need to do. I can do all that kind of stuff, but I'm not just going to get into it for the sake of it just because it's an easy money making opportunity. Because ironically, in the stock market, the easy opportunities for money making often result in us losing more than we even began with. So thank you for watching this one again. I hope this one was a useful video to somebody at least. I'm not sure if you are going to be interested in hearing the stories like this one, but I thought I might as well share it with you anyway. So thank you, I hope you enjoyed, and again, see you soon in our next one. Goodbye.